Welcome to another episode of No Mud, No Lotus, where we talk about the down and dirty of recovery that often gets stuffed away. It's time that we all stepped out of shame and into the light to share our experiences and begin the healing process together rather than sit hurting alone. Welcome to another episode, finally, of our podcast, No Mud, No Lotus, here at Muddy Lotus Recovery. And this week, we're going to be navigating the holidays with registered dietitian Patrizia Jesue from Nutrition Counseling Center in Bloomfield Hills. Muddy Lotus Recovery our mission is to bridge the gap between recovery and self-management. And we envision a structured support community for eating disorders and co-occurring substance use disorders and other mental health disorders, where survivors and families can come together and get intentional peer support, creative arts, and awareness. And I'm the founder and host of No Mud, No Lotus, Allison Drugel. And while these past few years have been difficult for everybody, it did bring some much needed attention to mental health disorders, and the topic of eating disorders slowly but surely has been coming to light around, growing a little bit in our area. And so we have one of the Centers for Eating Disorder Recovery, one of the few in Michigan, unfortunately. We have feeders and nutrition counseling centers. We have a registered dietitian, Patrizia Jesue, who we have as our guest today, and we're going to talk about navigating the holidays. They have a meal support group there that is phenomenal, and they have other groups that they have outpatient, different outpatient recovery support groups and programs with yoga and other movements that they've offered at their centers. And we just want to talk about a little bit about the strategies that they teach there and how to get through the holidays for everybody, but for those with eating disorders and substance use disorders and other mental health disorders, it can be especially difficult. So I'm going to welcome Patrizia to the stream. Thank you for being here today.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me and for bringing to light this really important topic at this important time of year.
Yeah, definitely. Well, next week is Thanksgiving. And this week is Thanksgiving, next week. And it's just flying by. And then we're going to get into the Christmas holidays. And so I know that this is a time of celebration and a time of family. But with that can be fun and can also bring about some stress. And so I just thought it would be a chance for us to talk about how to navigate that anxiety, especially if you are dealing with an eating disorder or other mental health disorder.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about why the holidays would be particularly difficult for somebody that would be suffering from mental health disorders.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's such a lovely and wonderful time of year, but for many who struggle with eating disorders, it can be a time of extreme anxiety and terror. And so some of the reasons that we know that can cause this is just the fact that we're busier. We usually have lots of things on the calendar. So we might be letting go of some of our self-care. We might be letting go of some of our appointments because we're busy. And then in addition to those things, work might be busier. A lot of people have jobs where end of the year types of things start to show up. We're more financially strained this time of year. So those stressors, I think, are happening for all of us. And then you put that onto somebody who's already struggling with an eating disorder and substance use. Now they're having to deal with the food aspects of the holidays and all the treats and gatherings that are around food, and then the family that's coming into play, maybe family members that we haven't seen for a long time, and anxiety about what are they going to think about my body, and maybe I've gained weight or lost weight over the last time since they've seen me, and what are they going to do, or are they going to say something? So all of these things just really start to pile up for folks that I work with, and it creates a lot of anxiety for them.
So you brought up a really important point, which is where when you're going to go home for the holidays, or you're going to visit people you haven't seen in quite some time, the fact that the family members, who I'm sure have the most love and good intentions for their loved ones, will add that stress by sometimes, saying or doing the quote unquote wrong thing when that's not their intention whatsoever. And that can create this big stressful feeling for all parties involved. So I think maybe just starting there and taking even food out of the equation, and in substance out of the equation, how can loved ones and the survivor themselves enter the situation and maybe kind of bring down that stress level? Like, what can they do to prepare themselves and cope ahead for this meeting?
Yeah, absolutely. There are a few things that they can do. First and foremost, if you're feeling comfortable talking to the family members in advance, or asking someone that you're closer to speak to those family members, and just say, I'm going through a difficult time. It would be really helpful if we don't talk about my food, what I'm eating, what I look like, if I look different to you than the last time you saw me. Mm-hmm. So sometimes if we feel comfortable enough to approach that person in advance and just ask them to please refrain from making those types of comments. Sometimes, though, we're not in a position to be able to do that, or we're not comfortable asking that. And in those situations, I think it's helpful to remember a couple of things. Number one, any of those comments are typically coming from a place of just, I don't want to say ignorance, but they don't know. Most of our family members don't realize when they say, you look amazing, or wow, you've lost weight, you look great. They don't realize the impact that that's having on us as the person who's struggling with the eating disorder, and they don't realize how upsetting that can be. So just recognizing that they don't necessarily know, and it's coming from a place of care and concern. Maybe they're saying things like, I'm worried about you, you don't look good, and again, they're concerned, but it doesn't feel great to hear that. So just preparing yourself in that way can be helpful. Another thing that can be helpful is if you have those family members that are going to say something because they always do, or maybe they're going to be food pushing or telling you, you need to eat more, you don't look good, whatever they may be calling attention to. Sometimes it's really helpful to think in your mind things that they might say and what you might say back, or how you may react. So almost kind of doing a little bit of a dress rehearsal in advance. So that when you arrive to the event, it's kind of like, oh, how predictable, there it is. I knew this person was going to say that, and here's how I'm going to handle it. And I practiced and rehearsed this at home, and so here's what I know to do. So that can be really helpful as well.
Yeah, that kind of role play can definitely take the surprise factor out of it, and can let the steam out of it, so that when it happens, it's kind of like, oh yeah, there it is. Definitely. And the one thing that you were just talking about that kind of stuck out to me was that somewhere along the line, and it might have even been from Cedars, but we talked about, and this really helped me out a lot too, when I was finally, again, this would be if you're able to talk to your family about that, but it took me a long time to be able to do that, to be able to actually have the conversation, but I have been able to have the conversation now, where very well-intended family members will mention, when they mean, like, you look healthy, you look like, they're not really but then we as a society do tend to make comments about people's bodies, and we do tend to make comments that someone who's struggling with an eating disorder will take very personally, because that's what they're zeroing in on. And so it might be just something to put out there number one, for those that are surviving from it, that, you know, they need to kind of realize that's not what's happening, but also for loved ones that, you know, maybe kind of staying away from the whole, like, if you mean you look, you know, healthy, or if you mean you look like you're happy, if you mean like those type of comments, to say you look like you're doing well, you look like you're, you know, those types of things, instead of focusing so much on body, is just maybe a helpful tip for everybody. I don't
For
know,
sure.
it seems like it to me.
For sure. You know, the term "you look healthy" is misconstrued every single time in one of my clients. You know, they just hear it in a different way. And it brings attention, like, oh, you must be looking at my body. You must be paying attention to what my body is doing. And that creates an incredible sense of concern and worry and fear and anxiety for my clients. And so just saying you look healthy brings up a whole lot for them. Naturally, the family member means it from a positive way, but it's never, ever heard in a positive way. That's first and foremost. But the second thing, you're so right, is we as a society have to get better at not commenting on people's physical appearance. We just have to get better. We live in diet culture. It's very easy for us to comment and compliment people on their weight loss, how they look, their makeup, and how beautiful they are. And really, when we do that, we're totally brushing over all the other aspects of people that are more meaningful. Like, you're such a great friend. You're a really good listener. I'm so happy you're here with us today. You know, and really, it's important that we stop taking our compliments off of the external and aesthetic parts of our body, and really compliment people on the internal and how they contribute, and who, you know, how we value them in our family.
That really stuck out to me, and more that I understood it, because everybody's not, I can't change all of society, and neither can any of the survivors out there, but when you kind of look at it through those lenses, it can help you when people do make comments like that, to kind of rethink it, you know, and to say to yourself, oh, they might mean this, though, like they might, you know, we just kind of say those things, and that's not necessarily a good thing, but we're not going to change it overnight, and kind of cope ahead, like you said, role play, like you said, and be ready for it. Excellent.
We can do our best with those things, but, you know, if any of these things feel like they're piling up, or it's getting to be too difficult and we're having a hard time managing, I always encourage, you know, my clients, turn to your treatment team, let them know. Don't sit and struggle with it internally and ruminate over the fact that, you know, Uncle Frank told me I looked healthy, and Aunt Frances told me, you know, that I need to put more food on my plate. You know, rather than sit and struggle with that internally, reach out to the people that are in your community that you know can support you.
Well, going along those same lines, that goes into kind of my next question would be, okay, so let's say, you know, you're at that holiday party, and you're not able to reach out to your treatment team because they're not available at that time. What are some strategies that people can do to get through moments of anxiety, stressors at the actual events that they'll be going to in the immediate?
Yeah, definitely. Because a lot of times, you know, that treatment team is not going to be reachable on the holiday. So what can you do, you know, in those moments? Number one, think about who in your group setting or family might be the most triggering for you and why. And not that you want to avoid them, but try to be very careful about maybe where you're sitting at the dinner table, or, you know, where you are in proximity to that person, to avoid the commentary. Try to sit near people that you know are very safe and comforting and have minimal risk of saying or doing something that feels very triggering for you. So that can certainly be a strategy that can be really helpful. Another strategy would be to think about the purpose of the day. You know, I know that my clients are focusing on the food and what they have to eat or don't eat, but let's try to take a step back from that and think about, why are we here today? What's the purpose of today? What am I thankful for? what are we celebrating? Really try to take the attention and the focal point off of the food and put it onto something else. Another strategy could be to have an exit strategy. And what I mean by that is not to get up and leave, if things start feeling uncomfortable for you, but think about where can you go or who can you turn to when you're feeling like you're getting flooded. Maybe the weather's going to be decent where you are and you can take a step outside to take a walk or sit on a porch and just take a breather. Maybe you're hosting in your home. Maybe you can go up to your room for about 10 minutes and just take a breath, maybe journal, listen to some music, just decompress for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to stay in the situation that's feeling really uncomfortable for you. I'm not suggesting that you flee the scene and not come back, but I think it's okay to take a pause and to take a step back and, just to breathe and decompress. And the final thing that I will say that can be really helpful is before the day even starts, set an intention for the day. Think about for your own self, how do I want the day to go? What do I want it to look like? How do I want to handle things? And, maybe write it on a card, some affirmations or what your intentions are, and pull those out throughout the day frequently. Just remind yourself, why am I here? What am I doing? What are my intentions? How close am I to those goals that I have? Or am I moving farther away? So just staying mindful of how we want the day to go. And that can be defined by you. It's not how I want your day to go. It's how you want your day to go. But the more you can stay focused on that and remind yourself of that, that might help you get through the day as well.
That makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
And so as far as like boundaries and setting different boundaries, I mean, should survivors think of this as like, this is I like how you said, you don't have to flee the scene. And you're not going to make some big blow up at the holidays or anything like this. It's this day that you have an intention for this day. What is the purpose for this day? And so, as far as, setting those boundaries, are the holidays a time when you should be really like working on this big, like setting boundaries with people? Where's the line? Where's the line between, I do need to honor my boundaries and I do need to take care of myself and protect myself, but also I really just, what is the intention for this day? And I'm going to get through
Mm-hmm.
it. And I want to get through these holidays. How does one kind of, decide where that boundary is and
Sure.
Get through it?
Certainly, if you're feeling unsafe, if the people around you are being inappropriate and really threatening, your comfortability, I think it's absolutely important to, say something and draw that line in the sand. Absolutely. However, there are going to be maybe those family members that say things again that are triggering, and it may not even be directed to you. What about the aunt or the uncle that says, oh, I haven't eaten all day to prepare for this meal, or I'm going to have to run X number of miles tomorrow to burn this off. They may not even be directing the comment to you, but they're just commenting about food and diet and weight in ways that just really go against everything that you're working on in your own recovery. So in situations like that, it's okay if you want to be a little bit outspoken to say, aren't there better things to talk about than what we're eating? Or, oh, I don't want to talk about that right now. Let's just enjoy the day. Or who's winning the football game? Change a little bit. You could do that. The other thing too is, don't forget, these situations, as uncomfortable as they are, if you're not feeling unsafe or unsupported, it's important to know that you're building resilience. You're learning how to be in situations that are moderately stressful, that are safe but stressful, and you're learning how to just let it roll off your shoulders and just keep moving on according to what you need to do for your own health and well-being. So you can look at it from that perspective too. Again, oh, that was predictable. I knew so-and-so was going to say that. But then, giving yourself a pat on the back. I'm learning how to be resilient to these things.
Yeah, so I'm really hearing you say like being kind to ourselves and giving like thinking of that as a chance that I made it through that, and now I'm that much stronger, and
Mhm.
then being really kind to ourselves to give us some grace, to get through it, and hey, good job.
Mhm.
So, all right, awesome. Well, we're gonna go to a commercial break really quickly. Just have like a little PSA, and
Mhm.
so I'm gonna take you out of the stream, but I'll bring you right back in. And then when we come back, we can talk about a little bit about intuitive eating to find out what that is, and a little bit about health at every size, and just really talking about like the holidays and how for everyone, not just those that suffer from eating disorders or substance use disorders, they're usually a time of indulgence. And then we've got the New Year's resolutions start coming in. So, how before we even get started, can we maybe just go into this with a little bit more of an even mind and a little bit, what are some strategies that we can do before we even get started into the holidays? So I'll take
Awesome.
you out and we'll be
Okay.
right back, okay?
Sounds
Oops. All right. So I've got this. I'm going to pull up. We've got Orchard Center High School in Monroe, Michigan, is going to have a holiday market. I happen to work there, and we have a STEAM class, and they are going to be having. Their kids have built tons of trash to treasure projects where they went to thrift stores and they did some recycling, and they turned all of those things into treasures for everybody in the community to hopefully purchase to support their program. So I'm going to pull up the information here, and it's got our music underneath it, so it might be loud. All right, so that's December 10th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. at Orchard Center High School. And there's Santa Claus is going to be there. My friend Brent Huber is going to be playing Santa Claus. What basically each of the kids did is they, in the STEAM class, they created a booth for themselves. So like an entrepreneurship type of a situation. And so like some of them, there's one that has a booth called Jolly Jars, and there's going to be cake food that they made in different jars that are like Santa Claus and reindeers and snowmen and elves and all these different things. And so you can purchase the jars. They'll either have pre-wrapped candy or they'll have cake that you can eat out of the jars. And then there's another one that's called Winterland Wood Creations, where they took different pieces of wood and repurposed items and turned them into Christmas, like snowmen and ladders that say joy and different things like that. And they learned how to use a circular saw and a drill and measure, and they came across obstacles that you wouldn't believe, and they have tried to overcome those obstacles, and they're doing a really great job. They made some wreaths. I'm trying to think of all the different things. There was a solar light that you can put out in front of your house that looks like a snowman. So maybe next time on the show, I will bring some pictures of the different items, but it's December 10th and it's open to the public. And the whole purpose of this event is to bring the community into Orchard High School. So they decided at the beginning of the year, the kids did, that they didn't like the reputation that everybody was having of the alternative high school, and they decided that they wanted to change that reputation. And so they created this holiday market, and they want to bring the public into the high school and show them all the cool stuff that they're doing. So they've made like a video that will be playing on the screen, and they have a cafe that will be selling treats and hot coffee and smoothies. And so it should be just a really fun, family-oriented event. There will be some crafts for kids that are free. And so I'm really hoping everybody comes out. I know there's lots of holiday stuff that is going on that weekend, every weekend of the December month. But if you come on out, there'll be some free things and also some things to purchase. And I know the kids would really appreciate it. So that's at 1750 Oak Street. It's right off the expressway, and it's in Monroe, in between Toledo and Detroit. So come on and buy some holiday market items to give your family. So we're going to return to our show, No Mud, No Lotus, where we're joined by registered dietitian Patrizia Jesue, and we're discussing the effects of the holidays on those with eating disorders and other co-occurring disorders. And so I'm going to bring her back into the stream. Welcome back.
Hi.
Yes, hi. And so now we're going to talk about the holidays in general. And as I was saying before that tiny break, we were talking about just how the holidays in general are an indulgence. And then a lot of times we go into the new year with this idea of, oh, yeah, I just overdid it. And I knew I was going to overdo it. And now I'm going to restrict for at least the month of January. So what can we do as a society, regardless of whether you are a survivor with, an eating disorder or not? What can you do to go into this with a healthy attitude before the season starts?
Yeah. I think it's important that we're talking about this. And one of the things that I tell all of my clients is not to walk into the holidays expecting that it's going to look like a normal day. It's just not, and it's supposed to be different. We're supposed to eat maybe more options, more desserts. We're having more gatherings. Maybe we have more appetizers. I don't normally have appetizers at my dinner table on a random Tuesday night for dinner, but when we're at a holiday party, we may find that to be the norm. So I think we have to redefine what normal looks like for holidays, because if we keep trying to compare the holiday eating to like our normal way that we eat, it's always going to feel like it's an indulgence. It's always going to feel like it's too much or more. So we have to redefine it. It's its own set of rules, so to speak, when it comes to eating, because it's not going to look like your general Monday through Friday workday. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think that's one thing that's really important, is just to walk into it with a different set of expectations. If you're going to try to eat the way you normally eat Monday through Friday, you're going to feel disappointed because it's going to be hard to do that.
And so if I'm understanding you correctly, though, it's not a good idea for, say, you're going to go to a party, or this is throughout the year too, but like if you're going to go to a party, or you're going to have a birthday, or you're going to go have Christmas, whatever, it's not a good idea to have that and then to decide for the whole next day you're going to, hardly eat anything, or to prepare for that meal with hardly eating anything. That back and forth is not good for your body. Is that correct?
Correct. Our bodies don't know that I'm not eating enough today because I ate too much 2 days ago. My body is confused by that. And in addition to that, my body doesn't know that I'm going to a holiday party later tonight or tomorrow. And so if I'm restricting today to save room for something that might be happening in the future, my body doesn't understand that either. I know that I have a party or a gathering later, but my body doesn't. So it creates a lot of chaos and confusion in the body. The mind and body are not connected. And so even though I know I'm doing this, or I ate this last night, my body doesn't. So when we restrict or we try to make up for those things, it really, number one, it doesn't work. It's not effective. But number two, it creates a lot of chaos and confusion in the body, which then starts to offset our normal appetite cues and our rhythms of hunger and fullness and things that we need to have in place in order for us to be intuitive eaters.
Okay, and you just brought up, so what is intuitive eating? What does that mean?
So intuitive eating is really using your intuition to eat. And so it's eating when you're hungry, stopping when you're full, eating things that sound good to you, eating things that you want. It's making decisions about what we're going to eat based on our internal desires versus external things, such as what I should eat, what I shouldn't eat, what this person's eating, what this diet program tells me to eat. I do want to say it's important to be very careful about intuitive eating if you are still working through your eating disorder recovery, because many people don't know when they're hungry and full, or they really believe that they're full even though they aren't. You know, their fullness might be that they're anxious or
Mm-hmm.
their digestion is not functioning completely. So I'm not telling people to, you know, start the intuitive eating movement unless you've already discussed it with your treatment team and you're ready. But if you're in the mix of your recovery, it's best to follow the advice of your dietitian and trust that you will get to a point where you can be more intuitive with your eating and give your body what it needs when it needs it.
I'm really glad you brought that up, because that was something that was difficult for me to learn, was that like hunger, in the sense of what I thought hunger was, with like tummy grumbling and all of that, was definitely not what I experienced. Maybe because I was all out of whack, eventually. But that just, eventually I learned that it was these other things. I was feeling that you get the hangry, or you get the nervousness sometimes, or that irritability or anxiousness would be my hunger cue, or and then could learn those different things, but only with the help of a dietitian and with the help of a team of people that could help me kind of decide what was going on. So yeah, that's definitely something that you need your team for sure. So so definitely. And then as we go into the holiday season, but more towards the new year, I would probably think maybe we need a whole other show on this. But but I wanted to bring, yeah, I think we do. But maybe just kind of bringing up how, with social media, and I was trying to bring up the Health at Every Size movement. We've done a show on that before. It was last year, but just kind of the idea that we're going to see, as the new year rolls around, like the media kind of it's everywhere. They're going to be like, you need to lose it's on the YMCA bulletin board. It's on it'll be everywhere. What can we do as everybody, not just those that suffer from eating disorders, but those that are more susceptible in the recovery arena? What can we do to block that out? I don't know. What do we do?
I mean, if we can block it out, great, but it's so abundant, and it's so in our faces. And it's funny that we already can predict this, right? You and I already know this is going to happen. I think everybody knows this is going to happen because it happens every single year. The diet industry is a $70 billion a year industry. That's a lot of money every year that's being spent on diet products and pills and potions and exercise equipment and fitness things. And it's so unfortunate because the research heavily says that diets don't work. The 95% of people who lose weight will regain it back. And unfortunately, for the population that I work with, diets can be extremely dangerous in the eating disorder world. It can really tip someone back into that relapse kind of place. So we know it's coming. And so the first thing that we can do is just, again, predict it and brace ourselves. We know it's going to happen come January 1st. There's going to be all of the ads telling you how horribly you ate this holiday season. And, just brace yourself. But I invite you to think about this. Think about all the holidays you've had, non-eating disordered, and think about, did you really gain all this weight at the holiday? It's almost as if we're brainwashed into believing that we gained a ton of weight, but in actuality, what evidence do we have that we do? I mean, I don't have to go out January 1st and buy a whole new wardrobe. No, my friends don't, my family members don't. I don't see people on January 3rd and say, wow, you look so different than when I saw you a month ago. So we really don't gain a ton of weight over the holidays. This has actually been looked at and researched. And it's all just this propaganda to get us into believing that we did, so that we start spending money on these products. So I think it's important to be bracing ourselves for what's to come. Ask myself, what evidence do I have to support this thought that I've gained all this weight? And then to really try to shift our attention off of it. The more we give something attention, the more important it becomes in our world. So it's almost like when you're online and you're scrolling for something and those pop-up ads come up that are really annoying. When we click on them, we start going down a wormhole of all different kinds of things that are so far away from what we went online to do in the first place. So what you really want to do is just kind of click it off. Don't give it the attention. Don't listen to the ad and, that looks interesting. Maybe I'll look it up on Instagram, or maybe I'll look it up on TikTok. Try to just click it off and move forward. And before you know it, 4 weeks in, it's all going to go away. We know, by February 1st, it'll be done, and you won't be inundated so much anymore.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
it's definitely a profit game. We have the holidays with the indulgence and the more in shopping, and then you get to the new year and it's more in diets and everything like that. So it's really good advice to just don't, you can't get rid of it, but you can simply not go down the rabbit hole. That was a really good analogy. So, well, thank you so much for being here. Like I said, I think we've hit on some topics that we could do whole other shows on, so it might be going on you again.
I love it.
But yeah, this is great. Do you want to share anything about our nutrition counseling center or theaters or the meal groups or anything like that? I mean, I do have the address and phone number.
Yeah, definitely. We are running some meal groups. They are virtual right now, but we do breakfasts on Mondays and Thursdays, and we would love to have you join us. It's an opportunity to support you during that meal and get you stable and started for the day. So we have those running. Come 2023, we're going to be running a bunch of groups. We have a body image group that's going to be starting up, intuitive eating group, and a nutrition skills group. So we have a lot of offerings that are going to be available coming in the new year. And we have a Navigating the Holidays guidebook, or ebook, if you want to call it. And if you want to email us through our website, we would be happy to send you that information and get you added to our newsletter so you can be kept up to date on all of our things that we have coming down the pipeline.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, I really appreciate it. It is definitely not easy to seek help or find help in our area. And I just really appreciate everything that your organization, your company does. And I know it's helped me out tremendously, and I will send anybody who comes to Muddy Lotus Recovery your way for resources, and hopefully we'll have you on the show again. So thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, it's my pleasure to be a part of the community and to help people and support them any way that we can. So it's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Okay, well, we'll hopefully talk to you soon. Happy holidays, happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy your Thanksgiving. And I'm going to remove you from the stream, but we'll see you in a second. I'm going to pull you out. And just remind our listeners that this will be available on our YouTube channel. We'll probably be running this on our social media. You can get this on our YouTube channel throughout the holidays. We'll run it on our social media a few different times. We'll also have it on our website so that you can listen to it throughout the holidays. And we stay tuned for another Muddy Lotus, or sorry, No Mud, No Lotus in December. And we will be having our columns will be coming out. We were kind of revamping our website, and so we'll be putting out some of our new content in awareness, different graphics, and some interactive things out on our website and social medias come the new year as well. Thank you so much, Patrizia, for being here, and everybody stay safe and have a happy Thanksgiving.